What's happening, folks? We're back with more Cyndi Lauper, and we're returning to the expanded edition of her 2001 album Shine. Thank you again to Seb. And the next track is Eventually. Its meaning is straightforward on the surface, which is to say, at some point in the future, and I think built into the concept is some gradual accruing or obtaining of whatever outcome is being referred to. It's not something that happens suddenly or immediately, and it's not something happening in the present, but it is something that will happen eventually. I suppose you could refer to the past, saying like, well, it didn't happen right away, but it happened eventually. But either way, it's a suggestion of a process playing out over time. So, given the nature of Cyndi's songs, I'm thinking this might relate to someone's emotional feeling, or maybe a relationship that changed its dynamic over time or came to fruition over time and something that didn't happen overnight. Either way, I'll try to catch what I can on a first listen. This is Cyndi Lauper. The tune is Eventually, and it's included in an expanded edition of her 2001 album Shine. Oh. A bit trip hop.
not to lead with your chin, but you can't help it. It all comes up again, and then you have your fill and you spill, you just come as far as all blood. What comes floating to me eventually will come floating back to you. What comes floating to me eventually will come floating back to you. What comes floating to me eventually will come floating back to you. What comes floating to me eventually will come floating back to you.
That's brilliant, and again, my understanding of Cyndi's catalog has really taken my appreciation of her music, her singing, and her output, her discography, to a level I never would have guessed. Now, don't get me wrong, as people who've been following this deep dive know, she's an artist I was fond of going all the way back to when I was a single-digit kid, and even when I started this deep dive a couple years ago, I was aware that I was likely going to hear some things that didn't have that classic 80s synth pop type of sound for which she is still maybe most commonly or internationally known. But the degree to which that has been true has exceeded what I might have thought in advance. So, yeah, I love this one sonically. First of all, it has that trip-hop type of flavor, which, late 90s, early 2000s, I am aware of some other music that's kind of in this direction, but it also had, notably, like, rhythmically and percussively, a drum and bass kind of rhythm. So trip-hop with a drum and bass flavor. There's also some really interesting sonic effects, like there's this space ambient type of atmosphere mixed with, like right at the beginning there was like I forget what you call it, but there's like this sort of folk instrument where it has this kind of rubber band elastic type of sound. That was one of the elements, and there was almost like these mouth like percussive sounds, so that gave it like a folk feeling at the beginning. There were some like bird sounds or something along the way, so it felt like real world atmospheric in addition to being folksy and cosmic. So a lot of different flavors going into this, and they all merge together really well. And her singing, again, it's beautiful, it's elegant, and she can do lots of different things with her voice. She can sound very emotional. She can belt with the best of them and go super, super high in a way that is stunning and yet not overbearing or overwhelming. But I feel like her singing here was unlike a lot of what I've heard before from her. I don't know why, like maybe there's, a good example of a song I've already gone through that just isn't coming to mind. But she just had a really interesting sonic quality to her voice on this one, and it was very compelling. And it's funny, like, the way she sings eventually in the chorus, it actually made me think of Faulty Towers and Manuel, because I forget what episode it is, but he says, like, eventually, and it's like he almost sings, or says the word in a gradual, time-spanning way, and she sings it in that way, so that I think there's a bit of conceptual relevance there. But it sounds like she's talking almost like interpersonal, like quantum entanglement, meaning, and she's even using the word interdependent, but it sounds like she's referring to a former lover, a former partner. Their time has come to an end, and they're in different places, and there's been a long span of time, but he still comes up. She still thinks of him, and she's expecting that, what was it, floating to her eventually will come back to him. So it sounds like she's expecting he's in the same condition. And, quantum entanglement, the idea that particles which become entangled, it doesn't matter how far away from each other they go or how much time passes, they're still connected in a, physics sense. Again, no matter how far away in the galaxy they might be and no matter how much time has passed, the movement or spin of one will be reflected in that of the other. And it feels like that's kind of what she's saying here, that inevitably they're still connected, they're still interdependent. Now maybe they're still in contact, maybe it's like they've kind of gone their separate ways, but they're still looking back, and maybe there's still some contact. But if I was reading the bits that I caught correctly, they're not in contact, and she's having tea with some guy in Paris, but inevitably he comes up, she's talking to her friend, her confidant, and she's still referring to this guy. So it sounds like he's always kind of there, and she's thinking that it's probably the same for him. So let me know if I'm misreading that, but that was the way I took it on a first listen. Sonically, I love it. Vocally, I love it. It's sort of instantly a favorite of mine, and I'm really looking forward to re-listening to it in headphones, which, incidentally, I talk about this sometimes because I occasionally still get comments from people who find my channel like, oh, it's cool, but you should listen to it in headphones. I do that for the vast majority, all but a vanishing few of the tunes I react to, I listen to in headphones either the same night or within a week or so. The only exception being some of the punk tunes that I've known, for a long time, or techno tunes where, I've already listened to them in headphones, either at, in my DJ work or listened to punk albums, over the decades. So yes, by and large, I listen to pretty much every tune I do in this format in a, let's say, more immersive and proper format, and I'm looking forward to that here. I will stop talking at this point, but Luca wishes you all a good day and a good evening. I will see you next time. Peace.